reasonably priced waffles.
You found what you do? You bribe the intern to go and rob a storage shed?
You know, whatever you have to do to make money. We have games on tonight. We got the baseball game on. We got the Monday night football game on. Why don't you come by and have some of that chili? What's that chili called again?
It's Wilbon chili. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
But it's 80 degrees in D.C. It's too hot. It's 40 degrees too warm for chili.
Do not complain about good weather in D.C. for the first time in 6 months. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, Frank Reich defends his decision. Mitchell Trubisky finally makes Wilbon smile. And Earl Thomas flips off his own team. But we begin today with the National League Central champions, and they are the Milwaukee Brewers. The Brewers went to Chicago, pecked out 3 runs against the Cubs, and turned the last 2 innings over to Josh Hader to win 3-1. So the Brewers can sit for a while. And the Cubs have to play in the official wild card game tomorrow at home. Wilbon, it's just 1 game, and your Cubs are still alive and in the playoffs. There's no reason to panic, right?
There's no reason to panic for a month. I mean, injuries. You Darvish, Morrow. We're missing
Darvish been out all
starter
year.
and a closer, but you don't overcome these things forever. The Cubs won 94 games, which is pretty damn good. Chris Bryant, MVP, out for months.
Right.
So they're missing some people, and Tony, more importantly, the Brewers are better. I told you that last month. These games I watch, all 20 of them between the Cubs and Brewers I've watched, and their lineup featuring Yelich and Braun and Kane and Aguilar, and now Arcia, who gets 4 hits for the first time in his life.
Yeah.
Their guy, Tony, David Stearns, who is the Brewers GM, he didn't get anywhere near the credit of Theo Epstein, but they hunted down the Cubs, caught them, and now they're the favorite in the National League.
You and I both sat here last week, and we said that both the Dodgers and the Cubs would end up in wild card games. So now it remains to be seen if that's going to happen. The Brewers went out, spent a lot of money on Kane, spent a lot of money on Yelich. They got an MVP out of that, and they got a guy who I believe drove in a run today that helped. I thought it was the decisive. Maybe it wasn't. Didn't Kane drive in run 3, or did Braun drive in run 3?
They were all in the action all day.
Can you
in Chicago
explain something to me just from a baseball standpoint? Why did Ryan Braun try to steal second in the 8th?
I don't understand that.
You have a guy on third base and 1 out.
You know
Does
why?
that not cost you a sacrifice fly?
It doesn't matter, because the Cubs did what they've done about 8 times in the last month. And I know you're not paying attention to this. They get a solo home run, and that's their only run. They've done this forever.
Rizzo killed
and
that
the
ball.
Brewers and Cubs, Tony, I believe 9 of their previous 19 games before today ended in a shutout for somebody. I think the Cubs had 6 of those shutouts. So 3 runs may as well be 18 runs.
So
the
Brewers traded with Miami to get Yelich. How does Derek Jeter feel about that? This guy's going to be the MVP.
They have no team, but the Brewers have one.
Are you panicked? Do you think you win? Think you win tomorrow?
No, I don't.
Think you lose? You think you lose?
The Brewers are the best team in the National League. You ready to accept that? You're going to say the Dodgers. You're going to say whoever's on a coast.
No, I'm happy to accept that. I like Milwaukee. It's nice. It's fine.
I don't like them today. Let's go to one of the core reasons for our television existence, Tony. Second-guessing coaches. Mike Vrabel gambled on 4th down and overtime, and it worked as the Titans beat the Eagles. Frank Reich, in a tied game with 27 seconds left in overtime near midfield, at home, gambled on 4th down, and his Colts lost to Houston. Reich defended the call, and his players, starting with quarterback Andrew Luck, said they loved it. Tony, did you love it?
Everything is in hindsight. Everything is results-based. It did not work. You know, they lost the game as a result. They gamble in their own side of the field. There's enough time. There's not a lot of time, but there's enough time to get in position to win the game. So it didn't work. Now, what do I like about it, if anything? And I believe after he did it, Frank Reich said, 10 out of 10 times we're going to do that. We don't want no stinking ties. We want to win the game. Here's what I think that does for him. And let me explain this. They're in a transitional year trying to see what Andrew Luck has left, which seems to be a lot right now, but they didn't know. They're behind Tennessee and Jacksonville in their own division. So they're not a championship team. I just think he won the locker room for the rest of this year. I just think those players would run through walls for him now when he said, we're playing to win.
I'm not sure they do it forever. I'm okay with that call at home. At home. I mean, you feel you got to pick up that 4th down. You don't want to end this in a tie. I understand a tie is better than a loss. But obviously, Vrabel's worked. So there's not a whole lot of second guessing there.
No.
I mean,
he gave the ball to Mariota. Mariota made stuff happen.
Yes, he did. But in Reich's situation, strategically, I think I agree with him. I think I go for it there, close enough to midfield. I'm outside my own 40, so I want to go for it there. I don't have a big problem with it. And you win your locker room until you do something that makes your locker room hate you.
Well, no, but
those things are very temporary.
But he won his locker room
now,
off this.
For now,
and Luck backed him. And by the way, if you're worried about Luck, 40 of 62, 464 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks, and at the end of regulation, he did throw it 50 in the air. I would tell you not to worry right now.
Okay.
By the way, you know how you always wonder who's the first coach going to be fired?
Yeah.
I thought if Houston had lost that game and
gone
to 0-4, I thought it was possible. I thought it was possible for Bill O'Brien. Not now.
Oh, yeah.
What about Mitch Trubisky, the quarterback you love to hate?
I don't hate him.
Yes, you do. Had 6 touchdown passes yesterday, as in not since Johnny Lujack and Sid Luckman. Your Bears were ahead of Tampa Bay at the half, 38-3. They won 48-10. So that's the end of Fitz magic. And guess who finds themselves in first place in the NFC Central?
The Bears.
The Bears. Wilbon, do we now need to take the Bears seriously?
I think so. And again, you know where I'm starting all this. Look, Trubisky, I looked for a number 10 Bears jersey at the airport this morning. They were all sold out because I was going to wear one. I don't hate Trubisky, and you know what I hate. I hated giving up draft picks to get him because nobody else was trying to get him on draft day. That's what I hate. Yesterday was his coming out party. Don't ever expect it again, ever. He doesn't need to be prolific. He just needs to be efficient.
Yeah.
Good for him and them. But that defense, Tony, once again, Khalil Mack's a sack, strip.
Yeah,
he does this. That defense makes me think the Bears can win the division.
So the reason I love football so much is because every year somebody does go from worst to first, which doesn't happen in the other sports. It just doesn't happen. So right now you have the Bears on top in that division. The Redskins are somehow on top in the NFC East. Miami, a gag team, stinks, still on top in the AFC East. It is this possibility that is wonderful. Am I sold on the Bears yet? No, and I think you know why, because they're 0-1 in division.
And you don't trust the offense.
Well, no, but they lost at Green Bay. So you got to beat Green Bay. You got to beat Minnesota. You got to beat Detroit. You got to go even if you're going to beat somebody.
And Detroit look a little more beatable, and so does Green Bay at home.
Yes.
If you got Khalil Mack healthy and that linebacker core. Look, I told you when you were talking about the offense, what did I tell you changed everything about the culture of that franchise and everyone around it, millions of people around it? Defense. That's
right.
what we understand. That's what they understand.
That's right.
So, Tony, yesterday I know that the offense put up these numbers. And, again, Trubisky, look, if Trubisky, whose footwork was so much better and his reaction to pass rush was so much better.
You like his footwork.
Tampa Bay stinks. I don't care what their record was. They stink. They do.
They're going to Jameis Winston.
He was terrible.
So Fitzmagic
awful.
Can stop wearing other people's clothes now. He can put on his own clothes. That's
Will he even be looked at the lectern anymore? People going to pay attention?
When Jameis Winston gags, yeah.
Jameis Winston was terrible. You could say it was rustic.
It was both bad.
2 critical calls went against the Cleveland Browns in the fourth quarter yesterday. One was a strip sack of Derek Carr that was blown dead just as it appeared Cleveland was headed for a defensive touchdown. And the other, they should have blown that dead, was an overturned first down that cost the Browns a chance to run out the clock. And in yet another overtime, this one 45-42, the beneficiary of all this was the Oakland Raiders. Tony, did your Brownies get hosed out in Cali?
A, they're not my Brownies, but B, they certainly did get hosed.
They got hosed.
I don't think that Derek Carr was in the grasp of anybody. I believe that ball popped out, and at that point, Cleveland is going to score, and Cleveland is going to win. Worse than that for me was the spot. They reversed the spot. I thought Hyde was even further down the line than they gave him credit for at first for the first down. Then they bring that back. If that first down is made, Cleveland kneels on the ball. They run out the game. Let me not forget to give Derek Carr props, because just like Andrew Luck, with no timeouts in the last minute, he got the 6 and then he got the 2. All credit in the world to Oakland in that regard. It should not have gotten to that.
So how many minutes would we go before you mentioned that Baker Mayfield threw a pick 6 and fumbled twice?
I like him.
How long would we go on this show?
I like him.
Before you mentioned that Baker Mayfield directly handed the Raiders 21 points.
And he blamed himself. And you know what I'm going to say?
Good, he should blame himself.
I'm going to tell you that he could be, at best, a cross between Drew Brees and Fran Tarkenton. They got a quarterback now. They're not getting rid of this guy. This guy's the real deal for them. Yesterday, all 4 highly drafted rookie quarterbacks played.
Yeah.
Josh Rosen gave his team a chance They didn't win against Seattle. Baker Mayfield should have won this game. They should be 4-0, and Darnold and Josh Allen were nowhere.
How many quarterbacks, rookies or not, they could beat George Blanda? How many gave the other team 21 yesterday?
Are you telling me you would dump Mayfield now?
No, I'm just asking.
Do you see potential in Mayfield?
You got to be accountable for what just happened in the minute.
They should be 4-0.
Really?
They're not.
Because he gave the other guy how many? One more time. How
I heard
many?
you said 21.
21.
I dispute 14 of them.
Nice way to
14 of them are under dispute.
Please.
Seattle Pro Bowl safety Earl Thomas, who's been in the news lately because he hates his contract, had some terrible luck yesterday. Thomas broke his leg on a tackle against Arizona late in the fourth quarter. As he was carted off, Thomas flipped the bird towards the Seattle sideline. At his coach? At his teammates? At the owner? Who knows? Wilbon, was Thomas justified wagging his middle finger?
Well, first of all, let me declare, going back some years in PTI history, to when we first started talking about flipping the bird.
Which you love. You say you love it.
I love it more than you. I know you don't care about it, but you don't care about it.
No, I don't like it.
Because we covered sports at a time where people flipped off folks all the time.
It's wrong.
It's wrong.
It's wrong.
What are you, a millennial?
No, it's wrong. That's wrong.
It's not wrong.
It's wrong.
It was the frustration, the anger of the moment. Here's a guy who didn't want to play because he thought this thing might happen. He could shut his career down or cut it short because of a serious injury.
Yeah.
And the anger, he flipped off the world.
Okay.
Good.
He didn't want to play.
That's what you would have done back in the 1960s.
He didn't want to play because he thought this could happen.
Yeah.
He has a $10 million contract.
Okay, well, he'd like to be 20.
Oh, he's also said he hates the people at Seattle for not extending his contract.
Yeah.
He signed a 4-year, $40 million contract. He's going to realize all of it.
Yeah.
And he said, I won't even practice. I'm not even going to practice for you people. Now, you know what he's thinking right then? He's thinking this is the worst of all possible worlds. I'm going to be 30 years old, and I'm damaged.
And nobody's going to sign me.
And I'm not going to, right, and I'm not going to get the deal I wanted.
Why would you be angry at that?
Well,
Why wouldn't you be angry at that?
There are a lot of people who get carted off, and you know what they do? They wave to the people who are cheering at them.
They weren't involved necessarily in a dispute with their ownership.
So you were,
I'm fine with it. I love it.
You know, the guys from the Legion of Boom who are now spread to the wind, at this point, you have to wonder, were they just malcontents coddled by Pete Carroll?
No.
Were they coddled? Because they were great in their
everything? First down or whatever down it was from
Marshawn Lynch.
That was if they get a second Super Bowl back to back.
Yeah.
History views them differently.
Let's take a break. Coming up, Wilbon was publicly doubting the Patriots. He's still after yesterday.
I'm gonna flip the fingers somebody too. Who can I flip?
Take him off the air.
Our producers who?
Take him off the air.
Is his dream of Notre Dame being in the college football playoff now likely to come true? I'd flip them off too. I'd flip off everybody at Notre Dame.
And Michigan.
Michigan too.
17-0.
I don't want to talk about that. I'll flip you off right here.
Okay.
What do you mean it's not working out, Craig? I mean, I just introduced